Saram, sir. Saram. Saram, sir, can you hear me?
Yes, Sairam, can you hear me?
Yes, sir, I can hear you.
Can you see me also?
Yes, sir, I can see you.
Oh, I cannot see myself. So maybe you have disabled. Oh, there you go. Okay, good.
I made you the spotlight video. So you will be like, when you are speaking, I will stop the share. So now you will take the center.
So when I'm speaking, I will be able to see myself or no?
Now, what are you seeing now?
I'm seeing myself.
That's it. This is how it will be.
Okay, excellent.
So let me. So this is how it will be, sir. Like the setup will be pretty simple.
Yes.
And then I have turned on the spotlight video on you, so this will be no disturbance. And then once so what we are planning to do today, sir, is like we'll do 21 Omkarams, and then Swami's 3 bhajans. Swami only rendering 3 bhajans.
Sure.
And then once that is done, we will quickly, I'll introduce you
Sure.
2-3 lines, and then all for you, sir. 1.5 hours from 2:15 to 4 o'clock.
Sure. To 3:45. So 2 o'clock you're going to start, right?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So right now I'll disable my video and audio, and I'll come back in another 20 minutes, 25 minutes.
Sure, sir.
I will stay in the Zoom only. Okay.
Okay, sir. Thank you, sir. Sai Ram.
Okay. Sai Ram.
नाम बपुए तिनके पद वंदन किए मेटत विघ्न
छुपा के मैं कहीं तुझको साया भी तेरा ना मैं दूं, रख लूं बना के कहीं घर मैं तुझे, साथ तेरे मैं ही रहूं। जुल्फ़े तेरी इतनी घनी, देख के इनको ये सोचता हूँ, साए में इनके मैं जीऊं। इश्क है पर खोला के है इश्क मोहब्बत जिसके दिल में उसको पसंद करता।
शुक्लाम्बरधरं गणपतिमन्त्रं शुक्लाम्बरधरं गणपतिमन्त्रं नित्यं भजो भजो नित्यं भजो भजो
प्रेम मुदित मन से करो राम 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 श्री राम राम लिखे देत राम भव समुद्र सुगर नाव राम माता पिता बंधु सखा सब की कामना भक्त जन जीवन गण एक राम भजन बिना सुख शांति नहीं हरि भजन बिना सुख शांति नहीं हरि भजन बिना सुख हरि नाम बिना आनंद नहीं हरि नाम बिना आनंद नहीं
Sai Ram, dear brothers and sisters. Welcome to Sathya Sai Center of Flushing. We have been celebrating Swami's Aradhana Mahotsavam for the last 1 month. In spite of the difficulties that we have all been going through, with Bhagwan's grace, all the events have been successfully conducted on technology. So we are very fortunate and thanks to Bhagwan's with his grace and blessings, we have Brother Sunder Iyer amongst us, who will be sharing his thoughts on this wonderful occasion of Swami's Mahasamadhi Aradhana Mahotsavam. So we will be concluding our 1 o'clock celebration today with his talk. So today there will be no interruption for his talk. It will be kind of a 90 minutes talk without any interruption. So before we go ahead with Brother Sundar's talk, I just want to share few like bio about Brother Sundar for those who are not aware of him, but he is no stranger for the Sai fraternity. He is most heard on lots of platforms, whether it is regional retreats or national level meetings or even Puttaparthi. So we are very fortunate. He's so busy. He's been chased by all the regions around the US and in fact around the world as well. So, but when we reached out to him, he was very gracious enough to agree and share with us some of his thoughts. And we want to really thank you, Brother Sundar, for that. So quickly, a few details about Brother Sundar. Sundar is a student of Bhagwan's Baba's academic institutions from 1979, and then he stayed until 1994. During these years, while pursuing an academic education, Sundar had the privilege of learning powerful lessons in spirituality, yoga, and meditation. He earned a PhD in banking and finance from Sri Satsang Sai Institute of Higher Learning. So this is a basic bio that we were looking at. We can speak more pages and pages, but since his time is very precious, we will continue with his satsang. At this point, I'm removing the sharing of the screen so that Brother Sundar is visible to all of you. So with that, I will hand over to Brother Sundar for the next 90 minutes or so. Jai Sai Ram.
Thank you, Brother Kishore, and Sai Ram to every one of you. I begin with offering my most prayerful, humble, and grateful pranams at the feet of our beloved Sadguru, Bhagwan Sri Sathya Sai Baba. Before I begin, I want to offer my heartfelt thanks to Brother Kishore for inviting me to be part of this divine celebrations that you all have been doing for 1 month. Hearty congratulations. I rarely come across a group of people or a center that celebrate the Aradhana Mahotsavam or Aradhana festival for as long as 1 month. So it's wonderful that you have undertaken this as a sadhana and invoked the divine blessings of Sai. At this difficult time, as always, New York has been the leader, and even in this particular phase of this virus, as we call it, the fear of this virus and the spread of the virus, I know New York has taken the maximum hit in the United States. And each and every one of you have been heroes in one sense or the other, that you have been part of this. And because of y'all taking the brunt, the rest of this country, places like where we are, get time to prepare ourselves and learn from what is happening in New York. So you've all been teachers to every one of us. So thank you for that. And a big shout out and a heartfelt gratitude to all the doctors, the medical experts, the medical professionals, healthcare workers, and everybody who's out there in the front, risking their lives on an everyday basis to handle this crisis and come to terms with it. With that said, this particular few days have been dedicated to a divine teacher who walked the earth for 86 years. All he did in his life was spread love, peace, truth, righteousness, and perhaps nothing else, but just that. In the course of that, his mission unfolded in so many different facets. He launched the Nama Sankirtanam Sai organization. He started off as Bhajan Mandali way back in the 60s, where he encouraged people to sing bhajans, quality Nama Sankirtanams. And today, that is the world standard for bhajan singing all around. And then this mission of spreading truth, peace, righteousness took so many forms, and it took form of a Veda Pathshala, which slowly grew from a handful of students to this divine university, where not only Vedas and Vedanta, Upanishads and yoga and spirituality was taught, but it was taught along with modern education. And today, almost 30 to 40, I think 40 or 50,000 people would have passed out of that, youngsters would have passed through these portals set by Bhagwan. And then this very same values, the very same energy that he put into this mission took this form of this wonderful medical institution that is right now an example to how medicine should be practiced as a service. And so in every facet, and then of course, finally, he actually brought states together and provided water to hundreds and thousands of people, hundreds of villages all around Puttaparthi, Andhra Pradesh, and Tamil Nadu. It is very fascinating at this time when you examine the life of a divine teacher, a divine master, an incarnation, an avatar as we know him, how he chose to spend his life, his days, his moments, his time, his resources, his energies, always giving, always giving, always giving. There was never a moment that I saw in this wide span of life. I had a chance to be there for 15 years. I never saw even a single moment. I can never recall any such moment or any such situation or any such time where instead of giving, Baba's hand went to receive. He never asked anybody for anything other than love, other than devotion. And that too for our own good, not that he needed it. So here was such a teacher, such a benevolent master, such a benevolent guru, who taught us that the greatest of receiving from the universe, the greatest of blessings that we yearn to receive, the greatest and the best of health that we yearn to receive, everything that we yearn to receive from God is God. Not by asking, not by stretching your arms out like this, but by giving. By giving. When you give, you are given more. That is the law of the universe. As I've learned it from Swami, as I apply it in our everyday life, Maya and I apply this on our everyday life. And especially after Swami passing away, and now that I have dedicated my life to teaching and spreading yoga and Sanatana Dharma, which was very dear to him, which is what he taught me, which is what he wanted me to do. And so I've dedicated my life fully to it. I realized that the more you stretch out to give, it becomes like a river. The energy flows in, the energy flows out. And all that you need to make that happen, whether it is time or money or talent or whatever it is, all the resources that are required to make that happen, always comes at the right time, at the right quantity, at the right amount, everything perfectly orchestrated by this universal master that we call Sai. Perfectly orchestrated. Everything in this universe, I believe, and I'm sure you all do too, and satsangs like these reaffirm those beliefs, makes us feel that we are not a very chosen handful, few who believe such things, or am I the only guy who believes these things? What is it that we believe? I believe, and I'm sure you believe too, that everything in this world is run by divine will, an orchestration of a cosmic energy. And there is nothing untoward in that divine plan. There are no mishaps. There are no misplannings. Those things happen in your life and in my life, because we plan ahead and we plan and we set goals all out of where do we make those decisions from? We make it from a very limited source of the I and mind. And that kind of decisions that we throw out there, the plans that we throw out there, the designs that we throw out there for our own future, or for the future of our family, community, and all of that, are based out from that little I and mind principle, not from the divine cosmic principle. And so our decisions, our ambitions, our aims, if you will, our objectives, our plans may appear to go astray, may not work the way we design or desire. It is precisely at such moments that one has to lean back and allow the divine architect to take over our lives. That is not done by fear. That is not done by fervent, quote unquote, fervent prayer. If I get a chance, we'll come to that topic of prayer. Because today we all want to pray. Pray for our own health, pray for our family's health, pray for the community's health, pray for this situation that we call the Corona Asura, as I call him, this Asura to go away somehow. So we all want to pray. But we will see how Swami would like us to pray, how he taught me the art of prayer, where every prayer is answered 100%. And so it is time for us at this moment in our lives to allow our little mind, our little ego, to step aside, stop its logical, illogical, if you will, thinking. Because all our analytical, logical thinking, our intellectual thinking in this time and in times of danger, all come from that one same source, a source of this limited sense of I and the limited sense of mind. And as long as that source for all these thoughts are from that little ego, that has falsely made you and I believe that we are somehow separate from our divine energy, that we are separate from Sai, and Sai or Swami is somewhere up there, out there somewhere, and the poor me is somehow struggling. This illusion that we have created in our mind, it is within that illusion we are trying to be analytical, practical, realistic, logical, and so on and so forth. In the divine scheme of things, all of this entire package becomes redundant. Because in the divine scheme of things, everything is happening exactly at the right place, at the right time. This was true when Ravana kidnapped Sita 2 million years ago. This is true when Draupadi was disrobed and humiliated in the palace and she cried out for Krishna. It was divinely orchestrated. It is true when the Mahabharata war broke out and phenomenally large weapons were used. Weapons of mass destructions were used at that time, 5,000, 6,000 years ago. That is the belief. I believe that. I believe it's a history. Ramayana and Mahabharata are not mythological tales. They are actually itihasas. They're recorded as history in the Indian historical doctrines. Because it is so far back, and there is absolutely no way within the resources that we have at present to verify these events, we call them mythology. But that is our limitation, not the limitation of the story itself. Our inability to record these data or measure the existence, the actuality of these, the limitation is ours. Nevertheless, right from Ramayana to Mahabharata, to the world wars that happened in not so distant past, all of these, I'm not talking of only the bad things, but the good things are given. When something nice happens, you say God has been kind. But in the same kindness, in that same selfless love of that oneness principle in which this cosmic consciousness operates, it is in that same energy lies this side of the picture as well. The Shiva and the Shakti, the yin and the yang, the black and the white, all of them merge into a perfect orchestration of the divine. Yes, we don't understand why certain things must happen. Why would there be illness of such a nature, widespread destruction of human beings? We don't know the answer to that. Why are there volcanoes? Why was there a tsunami that destroyed 250,000 lives, not over weeks, but over minutes? But hard as it may be to digest this pill, we have to, and I say have to because to me, that is the only source of peace. And I lean back and say, let me allow this divine orchestration to play itself. I will do my bit, my job, my duty, my karma, whether I'm a medical professional, medical health expert, doctor, engineer, whatever way I can, I will do my bit to help the situation because this is a chance for me to offer my selfless service. It is an opportunity given to us by the divine. This opportunity not to cower in fear, go into a corner and lock yourself up, but to see how can we be useful to the society? How can we give rather than receive? And in that giving, miracles happen. Miracles happen. And I'm sure in all your lives in these last few weeks itself, especially you all being in New York, would have experienced so many such little signatures of the divine, little windows that opened into the cosmos, where the divine smiled at you and said, yeah, you know, I'm there for you. Hold on to those little glimpses of this divinity, because they are little trailers to the real movie that's happening. And the real story is that the divine is orchestrating all of this. And not even a blade of grass can move without the divine will. And while I say that and sound so fatalistic, that divine will is not somewhere up there in the clouds or in some other dimension out there. It is there as well. But that same very divine will is lying potent within each one of us. And therefore, when we invoke that divine divinity from within us, when we allow that divinity to work through us, we begin to believe without any doubt of the divine orchestration, because the higher self within you is part of that orchestration. That orchestration is so divinely planned. A simple example is to look inside our own body. Look at everything that is so magnificently orchestrated. I know the science will say this is nature, this is all of this is just, as if we were some freaks in nature suddenly came up and there is some mutation and evolution and all of that. We use these big words to somehow logically convince ourselves to who we are, but we miss the poetry, we miss the beauty of being a human, of being a creature alive. We miss the magic of being alive, life. And that life is in a plant, that life is in a tree, that life is in an animal, in a creature, in an amoeba, in an insect, in a human being. In nature, all around us, there is life. So well orchestrated, so beautifully done. And we are all part of that orchestration. So when I say it's divine will, the divine will is not some one particular God up there. That is not the lesson Swami taught us. Swami said, I am God. When he said he was God, he was echoing the texts of the Vedanta, of Vedas, which said, Aham Brahmasmi. And when you understand the essence of Vedas, when you understand the essence of Vedanta, when you close your eyes and go deep into meditation, you will realize, and I'm sure many of you do get glimpses of this, that the Sai in you and the you in Sai are one and the same. Somebody asked Hanuman, and by somebody I mean Vibhishana, as Baba told us this many years ago, what is your relation with Rama? Sometimes you say you're a servant, sometimes you say you're his devotee, sometimes you say I Rama one. What does that even mean? Like, have you not made up your mind? You seem to be contradicting yourself. And Hanuman smiles at Vibhishana and tells him no. There's a very beautiful Sanskrit sloka for this, but I'm not able to recollect it at this point. Nevertheless, he says, when I identify myself with my body, then I am a servant. He is my master. I do what he has told me to do. I don't question them. I don't question his commands. I just follow his commands. Even there, he was one of the greatest examples, right? Rama said, do this. He said, okay, if you have told me, I will do it. If you have given me a task, I know you have trusted me with that. You've given me that energy, that strength. You saw something in me. That's why you gave me that job. That's why you taught me this. That's why the talent has come to me. And so Hanuman says, when I identify myself with my body, then I am a servant. He is my master. And then Swami went on to say how Hanuman said, the next, when I identify myself with my emotions, with my mind, then I am a devotee and Rama is my God. I worship him, I adore him, I sing praises, I chant his name. And chanting his name, singing his praises, adoring him, worshipping him, meditating upon him, I begin to realize in the depths of my spirituality that he and I are one. And it is those moments I completely become one with my Atmic principle, where there is no difference between Rama and I. Swami was explaining this to us when one of us asked, Swami, how do we maintain this oneness with God, that Atmic principle? Why do we forget that after a while and then we come back down because we have exams to do and studies to do and all of that? Swami shook his head. He said, no. If you're like Hanuman, you're always in that oneness principle. It just appears to be that he's a servant. It appears that he's a devotee. It is always in that oneness state. So when you are and I are in the body state, let us consider ourselves as servants and simply understand Swami's teachings and begin to implement Swami's teachings. You and I might be thinking, I'm just a servant, he is the Lord, but from the cosmic energy point of view, that is also a reflection of that oneness. Because Swami said, what is important is you keep the connection. Whether you call it being a servant and master, whether you call it being a devotee and God, whether you call it being he and I are one, these are all differences in your mind, in your language, in your expression. But as far as the big I is concerned, the moment you think of the big I, the moment you think of Sai, you become Sai. You become Sai. You become Sai. How beautiful is that? Because the mind has no, pardon me for sharing this philosophy, but this is what is coming from my heart at this moment. It's because it's so very important for us to understand. Because when the mind conceives of something, the mind becomes that thing. So the mind is not separate thinking of something. The body is separate while the mind is thinking of something going somewhere else, right? But the mind becomes whatever it thinks. It takes that energy, it takes that shape, it takes that form. It just becomes that. Why? How, you may ask, if there are youngsters there? Because the mind has no shape. Water has no shape. So when you pour water into a glass, like this, if I pour water into a glass, the water takes shape of a glass. If I take the same water and pour it into my palm, then it will take the contours of my palm and become the shape of my palm. If I take the same water, you get the point. If I take it and pour it into a vase, then it's going to become vase, flower vase, right? Anyway, the point is, if water can take all that, wind, if you put it in a balloon, you'll know how big the balloon is. You don't say the wind is as big as a balloon, you just talk about it as a balloon because the wind is inside the balloon. It is, if these things that are subtle, sound, is there echo in the sound? No. There is echo in the environment, and the sound begins to reverberate and reflect to you where you are. So by hearing your voice, I know where you are, whether you are in a church, in a big hall, in a small room, in a tiny basement. I can kind of figure it out by the sound. Sound itself has no limitation. It bounces off walls and gives you that reverberation. Air, water. If these elements are like this, think of mind that is even more subtle than these elements. Swami would say, what is the shape of the mind? Mind has no shape, mind has no form, and therefore it becomes very important what you think every moment, because when you think of God, you become God. When not in some other, not at a distant future, not in some distant date, here and now at that very moment, I'm thinking of Sai, I become Sai. It is irrelevant whether you think you're a servant of Sai. It is irrelevant whether you think you're a devotee of Sai. It is irrelevant whether you think Sai and I are one. Thoughts doesn't matter at that point. The mind, the subject matter of the thought matters. The subject matter is Sai. But then what do we do? Why is it then becomes so difficult to experience the divinity? It is because when we think of Sai, for a moment Sai comes into our consciousness, the mind becomes the Sai, adopts the form you want him to, whether he's sitting on a throne, whether he's in front of you, whether he's swaying, whether he's swinging his arm, he is there. He's actually come there. You've invoked that energy, the energy is manifested in front of you. At that moment, you experience it only for a moment. Then what happens? Then what happens? And then I begin to tell him what my problems are, where I am from, and why I am being tested, and what is it that I need in this life, and what is it I want. Guess what is happening now to the mind? You think the mind is still Sai? The mind has come back to being you. Because having invoked this energy, all we do is now to say, Yo, Swami, what is happening to me? When is all this going to go away? How am I going to pay my bills? What is going to happen? And I don't know. I am so confused. Please help me. Please help me. We are saying that. When we are saying that, we are thinking more of us and our problems, and therefore the mind is creating and recreating the very same problems again and again. Yat bhavam tad bhavati. So though you and I think we are praying, we are actually creating these problems, because sitting in front of the altar, all that we do is think about where we are, how miserable we are feeling, what is it that we want to happen in our lives, and therefore this becomes more real. That the Sai principle stands back, waiting for you to once again invoke him. If you call a guest home, this is an important lesson I think all of us need to understand. In this times of trouble, when we invite a guest home, imagine we call a guest home, not now, at this point, nobody is allowed to go anywhere, so don't start inviting guests home. But if and when we get a guest home, somebody whom we have been longing for a long time, and they come home, we're like, oh my gosh, you came, we're so thrilled, thank you for coming, please come have a seat. That guest is very happy, being so honored and so welcomed. He's like, wow, not many people treat me like this. So he says, thank you, Sai Ram. And he comes and sits, and then you offer him tea or coffee or some nice prasad, and he's enjoying it. He's like, this is beautiful. So thus far, fine. And then what happened? Then you sit down and he says, so what's happening? And then instead of saying, tell us, we're so fortunate to have you. So you speak, you're the guest, you speak, I listen. Instead of that, what do? Oh, thank you for so much for asking. Oh my God, you know what all problems we had in this house, this electricity is not working, this plumbing is not working, last week only, and this husband of mine, oh my God, this, that, or this wife of mine, whatever. And we come burden this guest with all our problems. So what happens to the guest? He'll be like, excuse me, it's great meeting you all. Thank you. I'm sure I'll be back again very soon. I said, something came up, and he's going to run away from your home. Why did that happen? These things don't really happen, but I'm drawing an analogy because this is what we do to this divine guest whom we call God. Because when we invoke the divine presence itself. Swami said, sing my name, I'm present. The moment we sing Swami's bhajans, the moment we simply listen to Swami's bhajans, you don't have to sing it out loud. Contemplation, mananam, nama smaranam, smarana, even memory of Swami, watching a video, thinking of Swami, the mind becomes that. He is already invoked. He's there in your consciousness. The divine, omnipresent, omniscient, most powerful being on earth is there in your consciousness because you invoked him. It is that simple, that beautiful. But then this guest who has come, we start burdening him with what we are, how we are, what we want. And then slowly the guest recedes into a distance. Who made the guest go away from your house? You did. I did. If I had kept my mouth shut and listened to him and this guest or her, and this guest would have spoken and I would have listened, for that moment, what would have happened? For that moment, I would have forgotten my problems and enjoyed the company of the guest. And then after the guest leaves, when I turn and look at the problem, I might get a different insight, a different way to approach the problem. Because now I'm looking at it with a fresh mind. We have all done that, right? When there's a problem, we say, I don't know, I'm just going to sleep, we'll see. And next morning when you get up, you're sitting in your potty and suddenly the light bulb goes up, goes off. And then you're like, wow, I never thought of that. Let me go try that, correct? This is what we need in our lives. Solution is always inherent, inside, potent inside the problem. But we look for solutions elsewhere. And the solution is right there. So this divine being, this divine Sai is within us. When we invoke him, he comes and blesses the very next moment. At this point, as you and I are talking about Sai, in each of our consciousness, Purna Mada, Purnam Idam, he's completely manifested himself in your consciousness. He's completely manifested himself in my consciousness. I'm enjoying the presence of him and allowing him to speak. I'm urging you to allow that presence to be there in your heart. And listen. that voice of Sai will speak to you and you will listen. One of the boys once asked Swami, Swami, how do we know it is your voice? How do we not know it is our mind's voice? It is our mind tricking us. How do we know it's a divine voice? How do we make the distinction? Swami very laughingly said, when you doubt, it is not my voice. When it is my voice, there will be no doubt. There will be no doubt. There was power in that voice when he said that. There was truth in the words when he uttered those words. Because when God speaks to you, because when you say speaks, you might wonder what language will he speak to me, or it's a language of the heart. It's like intuition. When you get an idea, what language does the idea come to you? It just comes in its entirety. The idea is presented to you, correct? That's how it is. If an idea can find its way into your consciousness without any language, intuition is perhaps one way to express it. How much more intimate will be this voice of God that will speak to you? Always speaks to you, but we have shut the voice down because they're not taking time to go within. Listen. It is in moments such as these, it is in times such as these, we need to look at something wonderful that is waiting to be revealing itself. And once that is revealed to us individually, to us as a family, to us as a community, to us as a nation, to us as Sai family in general, there is something waiting to reveal itself. And if it reveals, and when it reveals, there is no going back forever. Forever. For all eternity, in all your lifetimes, you'll remember the lesson learned at this very moment. And if that lesson is to discover the divinity within, take that lesson. Take that lesson. Maybe this is what was required for all of us. This is why the universe is orchestrating at this very fast technological pace at which we were progressing, if you will, quote unquote. I call it quote unquote progress, at which we were going at a rapid pace of technological progress, of medical breakthroughs, scientific breakthroughs, rapid pace. But there was a big hole in spirituality. Maybe the universe felt it's time to balance, slow down this progress, open up avenues for this so that there is balance. There has to be a holistic approach to life, my dear sisters and brothers. I saw this in Swami's life, a complete holistic approach. That is why he established a modern educational institution. He could have very well said this is only Vedas, Vedanta, Upanishad, because that is the solution to life. He established a modern education, and he brought Vedanta and Vedas and Vedic principles, Upanishads, and all of those teachings into this curriculum, into the lifestyle approach, because he knew that is the solution. Not running away from society today, no. Not inaction, no. But acting from a holistic point of view, no matter what our profession is. Without spirit and being only physical, or only having mental, or only mind and body is still incomplete. Mind, body, medicine, they say, it is still not holistic because the spiritual part is missing. By spirit, I'm not talking of religion, I'm talking of this cosmic awareness, where we begin to believe that we are all not only merely interconnected, which itself is a very, very big belief system, that we are all interconnected, not as human beings. I'm talking of interconnected with the environment, interconnected with the cosmos in general. And this is not hard to believe in one sense, because science tells us that, right? We are products of this planet, planetary combinations, if you will. Earth is so beautifully placed from the distance from the sun that life is possible. And because of these magnetic influences of these various planets around, and in a perfect distance, there is this evolution happening in this earth. So unique and so profound that it causes different dimensions of experiences, different dimensions of existence, and so on and so forth. So it is not very hard to believe that as products of this biomagnetic creatures, if you will, as products of this earth, we are all interconnected. Why is it so difficult to believe that the tree out there, somehow I'm connected to that tree? So if I destroy all the trees today, somehow I'm actually destroying myself. If not today, tomorrow. I cut the tree today, my grandchild tomorrow or day after or the next year or 10 years later is going to pay the price for that. So we are connected. But spirituality opens that one step further. Sanatana Dharma opens that one step further. One big leap. And it says you're not only interconnected, but you are one. One. So it is not interconnection, it is one. It is oneness. One cosmic principle becoming all of this. In one person's healing, in one person's prayer, the entire cosmos can be benefited. That is the energy that we have chosen to ignore. That is the energy knowing which you can become so empowered that you can choose to be a Ravana or a Rama. You can choose to be King Bali or you can choose to be Vamana. You can choose to be Hanuman, you can choose to be Rama, you can choose to be Sai. You can choose with that awareness. And that knowledge, that gift is given to us in simple words by Swami, taught to us in simple words by Swami. So we have to open our hearts, open our minds to this universal presence, allow the universal light to guide us. Once we were working in the mandir, and a few of us, handpicked by Swami, because it was Dasara time, and Swami had decided to distribute clothes and gifts to people. And so he called us and we were moving crates and boxes and all of that. And he told a couple of us, hey, our room lo poi chudu. He said, go to that particular room, small rooms, because inside the mandir, there are these tiny rooms. So he said, go to that room, there's a couple of boxes, it will be red in color or something like that, go bring it. And two of us went in, we opened the door, it was pitch dark. So we went in, we were like, oh my gosh, it's so dark, what do we do? Of course, we had little flashlights because the rooms inside are very dark. So we had these little flashlights, we put it on and searching for the switch here and there. And then we heard this familiar voice, hey, Dunno Potulara, hey, buffaloes. So we froze. I said, oh gosh, because in mandir, you have to be very disciplined. When Swami talks about discipline, he really means it. It's not funny when it's with Swami. So we said, oh my God, did we do something? Because Swami taught us mindfulness in its most extreme case. Every single moment in movement in Swami's presence has to be mindful, had to be mindful. How you stood, how you sat, how you looked, where you looked, how your eyes were you blinking too fast, too slow, everything. So we were so trained. It wasn't great when you were undergoing that, but now I look back and say how much that has helped me. That kind of mindful living, mindfulness in general, every day, at least for 2 hours, even in sitting in his presence in the mandir, in the bhajans in the evening, you had to be very mindful. You couldn't just sit whatever you do, wherever you do whatever you want, look here, look there, or scratch your back or do all of that. Everything, there were two eyes watching you. So that was the mindfulness training. So anyway, so in this room, when we heard, hey, we both froze thinking maybe we did something wrong. But then very quickly, Swami started laughing. He and said something very beautiful and simple at that moment. And I'll come to that in a bit. He said, and he put on the switch, saying, what did he say as he put on the switch? In his room, he knows where the switch is, right? So he came and put on the switch. And as he put on the switch, he said, Yemtra Miru, useless fellows. See in my light, you can see everything, see in my light. And then he said, pointing to the flashlights, little flashlights that we had in our hands. In India, we call them torchlight. So it's not like they're lit up and there's torch and flames going on. But that's all what flashlights are called, torchlights in India. So when I came for the first time in the US, we went to a store and said, can I have torches? Where are their torches? And the convenience store guy looked at us. So what do you want torches for? We said, no, it's very dark in the house. We want to light it up. Anyway, thank God he didn't call 911. He figured we were looking for flashlights. So anyway, so the point here is, Swami said, hey, your little torchlights, he referred to it. And he said, your flashlights you look here, ikkada chuste venaka, mundu chuste venaka kanpadu. Means if you point it to the front, you don't see what is going on in the back. These flashlights, right? They are unidirectional in their lighting. And then venaka chupiste, you put the flashlight towards the back, then you lose sight of what is happening in the front. Na light lo chudandi. See, in my light, everything is seen. Ekkada chuste prakasham, set and went away. Wherever you see, there is light, and went away. And of course, we got the boxes and all of that. But there was something mysterious, something beautiful, something powerful in that lesson. So when I spent that night, I couldn't sleep. And then it dawned on me such a powerful message. And ever since that day, I have learned, and I'm learning. It's a continuous learning. Learning never ends in spiritual path. Being open to learning is a sign of enlightenment, because enlightenment is not a static goal. It is the ability, the willingness, and the capability to learn continuously and keep expanding. When does that stop? It will never stop. Why? Because the self is infinite. So the more you discover, there is more to discover. The more there is to discover, there is even more waiting to be discovered. So that discovery will go on. Swami said that in that light. So when I learned that lesson, what is it that I learned? Is allow his light to shine. Put off your flashlights. My flashlight could see only one thing at a time. One speck in time and one speck in space. And then I'm trying to figure out my entire life based on that one particular thing. Myopia, is that what is it called? Myopia kind of thing, a narrow vision. You're not seeing everything in its fullness. You're seeing one point and say, oh yeah, this is not good. This is good. I like this. I don't like this. This is what I want to do in life. It's a narrow vision. Stop. That is a flashlight. That is our flashlight. And Swami says, open it up and allow God's light to light up. So the beauty here, this to me is the meaning of surrender. When I say surrender to the divine will, or open your hearts to the divine will, let the divine operate through us. This is what I mean. This is the experience that I want to share. And I set the stage up before this was only for this particular reason, because you understand this importance of how valuable this lesson is, how easy it is in one sense to allow the divine to open doors for you. You continue doing your actions. It is not you just wait for the divine to work, because he's working through us constantly. Every thought he's planting in our mind is his will. You keep working, but also keep listening. Don't hold on to that thought and don't marry that thought and say, this thought is mine. Say, this thought is given by him. If it has to manifest into an action, if it has to manifest out there, I will do my bit. And if it hasn't, if it is not manifested, then it is not me. I didn't own the thought. I don't own this action. He is giving it. He is doing it through me. And in that sense, you become an instrument. And in that sense, you begin to allow God to flow through you. You don't own your thoughts. You don't own your words. You don't own your actions. You don't own your results. You don't own your relationships. You don't own your homes and property. You don't own anything. Why? Because you're nothing. I'm nothing. He is everything. And therefore, let his energy flow. Let his wisdom flow. Let his light light up the room. So when Swami lit up the room and went, as I continue to analyze this analogy, when he lit up the room with his light and went and seen my light, did the box that we were looking for magically appear? No. Did the cobwebs in the room, the other boxes that were in the way, magically move away and the cobwebs get cleared? No. Then what was the advantage of that light coming on? The advantage was we knew the path to the box. We knew which box we could cross over. We knew which boxes we had to move aside. We knew which of the boxes are fragile, so we have to handle them carefully in order to get to that place. All of this, we could take the right actions, the right decisions, not based out of, oh my God, what is going to happen here? What is happening there? Oh, I'm tripping here. All this would have happened if I had a flashlight in my hand. But with this divine light that filled the room, I could see. And every decision of mine was clear, based on wisdom. And I was able to get to that box, pick up that box, come and give it to Swami. The task was achieved because the decisions made, the steps that were taken, the actions that were performed were done in the light that Swami lit in the room, not with my flashlight. This is the core of all spiritual practices. Whether it is yoga, whether it is meditation, whether it is, you and I may be labeling it as bhakti yoga, karma yoga, jnana, whatever it is, right? Whatever it is. Ultimately, we have to learn to let go and let God. That God principles that is within you and me to awaken and express itself. Then there is no room for fear. There is no room for illness. There is no room for death. Because God is eternal. You are eternal. The I in us is eternal. There is no separation. So one has to understand. I saw some flicker in the screen. So are we okay? I think we are okay. Let me see. All right. I guess okay. I'm back. I guess things are okay. So it is very important for us to understand that Swami will, and see the beauty of this whole satsang here is you and I are talking of a God principle, not of some distant past. I have a beautiful Dakshinamurti statue. Some of you can perhaps see at the back. The divine teacher, the cosmic principle. People had to tune into that symbolic energy. You needed Adi Shankara and scholars to explain what that even means. What does Dakshina mean? What does Dakshinamurti means? Why is he holding fire in one hand and moon in one? Earrings are moon and the sun and so on. There's everything about him is symbolic. And so one needs a scholar to understand that. Meditate upon that. It becomes so difficult to even bring that into our everyday life. But we are not talking of Dakshinamurti at this point. We could, but we are not talking of Dakshinamurti. We are not talking of a distant life story of Rama or Krishna at this moment. What are you and I talking about? What is the energy that is right now energizing this satsang? The energy of Sai. When and where was Sai? In our times, in these days. The days when there were even more dreaded things like the Second World War. Imagine the situation, 1940s. The Second World War is about to begin 2-3 years later. There was no social media and all that. So don't think that everybody knew exactly what was going on. Nobody knew, but there was fear all around because of lack of knowledge and so on. So imagine that situation. I wasn't born then. I was born in 1961, so I don't know. But I try to picture. What did Swami do? He lit a lamp and said, I'm starting a mission of love, peace, truth, non-violence. But shouldn't God first be stopping that war? Shouldn't an avatar just stop that war? What is he doing starting his mission? But that's the beauty. You can spend your life cursing the darkness or trying to examine ways to end the darkness, or you could light a simple lamp. The entire darkness may not go, but at that moment, that space around this lamp is lit. He showed us a recipe to a golden life. He has given you and me a recipe. That is the hallmark of a true teacher. Because if Swami had cured the entire world of all diseases, you and I would have gone and eaten even more pizza, even more animals, or whatever it is that we do, even more rice and sambar, and indulged more, and somehow brought about disease upon ourselves and say, okay, now God, come and help me. He didn't do that. If Swami had given enough gold all over to everyone's home was filled with gold, the gold prices would have crashed. We would all be back to square one, asking God, what about a little piece of iron? Why is that iron so rare? Why don't I have a piece of steel or iron in my house? Everybody has gold. He didn't do that. He didn't come to put out fires for us. He taught us how to prevent once and for all any accident through fires. to prevent forest fires, if you will. You get the point where I'm trying to come here. He's given you and I a recipe for a holistic lifestyle, a holistic approach, where spirituality becomes an integral part, the centerpiece of your lifestyle, and your entire life revolves around the core values, whatever they are. He's even spelled that out for us in his recipe. Core values of Satya, Dharma, Shanti, Prema, Ahimsa. These are the values that need to be on our discussion table once every week at least, or one value a day, when everybody says, all right, what did we discuss about, what did we discover today about this value? Let's share. Let a 5-year-old share what he discovered about the value of Ahimsa or love. Let a 50-year-old share what they discovered today, how they practice or didn't practice. Then we begin to our life begins to revolve around a consciousness that is far beyond the little sense of I and mine, because it revolves around concepts, it revolves around an idea, it revolves around a value system. Just because you and I hear Satya, Dharma, Shanti, Prema, Ahimsa every Sunday or every Saturday or every time of the week, or every time SSC kids go to their class, you're like, oh, not again, the same 5 old. That doesn't make it any less powerful. They are the 5 most powerful ingredients in your spiritual lifestyle. And Swami didn't say this is exactly what Satya is, or this is exactly what he's given us. So many ideas of what Satya is. He's given us so many ideas of what Dharma is. So he's given us a chance to explore each of this in our own way, in our own lives. Can we do that on an everyday basis, with bringing in every member of the family? Not all 5 principles every day. Make it interesting. Make it, you are creative. But when what happens is, spirituality, these are spiritual values, human values, spiritual values, values in general. They become the core. Then parents don't have to worry, oh, my child is not a believer in Swami, he doesn't come for bhajans, he doesn't go for centers, she doesn't come anymore, they're all getting, they're going astray or whatever it is. Spirituality can't be, you don't make it a dogma or a doctrine. Bhakti is expressed in many ways, but these values are universal. Nobody needs to say, I don't believe in love. Everybody believes in love. So what is their belief? Examine, appreciate. Everybody believes in truth, whether truth means honesty, whether truth is the spiritual truth of Paramatma being and all of this being illusion. I don't know. You discover it. What does righteousness mean to you? Ask the members in your family, ask our children. What does righteousness mean to you? How do you think, is it ethics? Is it morality? What is it? How do you think you could bring it into your everyday life? What are the challenges you face? What are the challenges I face? Bring it to the discussion table. Let values be discussed every day, debated upon. Then that plant, these 5 plants in your house will grow. They are the money plants. They will grow. What will happen when they grow? When I say when they grow is not some poetic way. When they are growing means they will start influencing our thoughts, our words, our actions, consciously, unconsciously, subconsciously, however you want to think about it. They will become part of our lives. And the entire energy of Swami is in these 5 values. You begin to release that potent, divine, most powerful energy of Sai, which was completely full of love, full of power, full of divinity. It will come into your lives. You will have no room in that house, in that home of yours, in that life of yours, in that relationship of yours, in that space that you have created, where there is family, there is work, this is my space. Work, family, creativity, life, talent, all of this in my space. That space is filled with Sai's energy. And in that light, I'll be able to see things a lot more clearly. That is it. That is the secret. It is not easy, but it is not impossible either. It is absolutely possible. So let us not wait to say, oh, those are all spiritual values. They're not practical. Examine why they're not practical. Bring that to the table. Examine. Because like I said earlier, whether we like a value called Satya or not, whether we are practicing the value called Satya or not, whether we are debating it or whether we are praising it, it does not matter. The fact that the mind is focusing, contemplating, thinking on this abstract value called truth, the mind has become that value. That is all it is. Yesterday, we have a satsang every night at 9 o'clock. Some of you may know it and attend. Quite a few people attend that. At 8:45, we sing a few bhajans and we discuss the Hanuman Chalisa and we chant the Hanuman Chalisa. We were talking of this very same principle, that this kind of thought process. That's why maybe in the back of our mind that still stays, because this is very dear to my heart. Ravana was also thinking of Rama. Hanuman was also thinking of Rama. Both got Rama, the same Rama. So you might say, wait a minute, but isn't Ravana the bad guy? How does he get Rama? But that's the point. The underlying message in Ramayana, in all of these Sanatana Dharma stories, in all this, whether it's Itihasas or Puranas, all of them, is the mind begins to attract what it thinks the most. Whether you want it or don't want it is irrelevant. Whether you believe in it, don't believe in it is irrelevant. So don't beat yourself thinking, I'm not able to get that 100% faith in Swami. How am I going to get that 100% faith in Swami? You don't have to. Even if you're doubting him, you're thinking of him, that's it. That is the key. The mind becomes Sai. The mind becomes Sai. When we think of a value, the mind becomes the value. When we chant the name of Rama, the name of Krishna, the name of Sai, the mind becomes that energy. And along with sound, it begins to invoke that energy powerfully into your being, into your very breath. That is why Hanuman was called the Vayu Putra, son of the breath, strength. So Swami has taught us and had taught us, continues to teach us these powerful lessons of deep spirituality. He didn't come to become another God, so we become more fatalistic in our approach and develop more of a victim mindset where we think, "Ayyo, Swami, what to do? We are all, who are we? You are the doer. Please do something, Swami. Something, Swami. We are praying to you. We are praying to you. Do something, Swami. Why are you not answering our prayers, Swami? We are all suffering, Swami." That doesn't work. That doesn't work. Why? Because the mind is thinking more of what you're suffering rather than the actual glory and the power of Swami. There is a story of Sudama and Krishna. Then I'll come to this beautiful story where I learned this art of perfect prayer. Okay. Before that, this whole concept is not my concept, obviously. It is all coming from the divine and Sanatana Dharma, which explains this power. This is the powerful thing, right? Understand this. If you understand that the mind can become God in a matter of seconds, then just enjoy being God at that moment. Whether you think of him as a devotee, like I said, whether you think of him as a servant, it all doesn't matter. The fact that you're thinking of Sai, you've become Sai, and he is there, right there in front of you, in you. Intane, gentane, vintane, ventane, kantane unnada. He said that is the meaning of experiencing the omnipresence of Sai. It becomes real. Miracles unfold. But if you go back to our littleness and complain to him what we are missing in our lives, then the mind takes those forms, and then we come away from our prayer even more saddened. We get up from our knees after prayer, same weak spirit, not an emboldened, enlightened, enriched spirit filled with the energy of God. Sudama and Krishna. I'm sharing this for the youngsters out there, for children, and for all of us. Of course, we are all children in the path of spirituality. And I hope always to be like a child, because that keeps my mind open and ready to absorb and learn and question. The story of Sudama and Krishna is a very beautiful story. It teaches us this very lesson. Sudama was a very poor Brahmin boy. Krishna was, of course, had become the emperor. But when he was a young child, he was also a cowherd, a very simple son of a village chieftain, if you will, Krishna. So Krishna and Sudama together went to the school. At that time, they were like the same good old pals. Hey, what's up? Let's chat, let's chill. So that's what they were, playing, laughing. all of that. The Gurukulam, that Gurukulam system lasted. Those days will be a residential school. Children are sent at the age of 8 or 12. They learn Vedas, they learned all of that, geography, chemistry, and all of that. Everything is learned. And then they come out almost enlightened because you are taught so much more. The right side and the left side of the brain is developed there. You're taught to meditate. It's not considered a weird practice. You're taught to sing. Talents are exploited, explored, because that develops the intuitive side, the creative side of the brain, which is as important as the analytical side, where you learn mathematics and Vedas, and even singing has got deep mathematics in it. For many of you youngsters who play tabla and harmonium, you know how many rhythms and talams are there in Indian music. Anyway, so Krishna and Sudama had a great opportunity. They became the best of friends, good pals, if you will. And then they graduated and separated their ways. Krishna went his way to become a mighty emperor. Sudama continued and he stayed a poor Brahmin. And Sudama gets married. His wife starts nagging him. Hey, you keep talking about this Krishna. Is it the same Krishna who is now the emperor of Dwaraka, that mighty king? Is he the same? And Sudama says, yes. And she says, then what are you doing here? You and I are struggling for basic livelihood. We are not able to pay our bills. We are half the time sick and miserable in our existence. Why don't you go and ask him something? For a king like that, for a friend like the way you are saying, though it's hard for me to believe, for such a great friend, for him it is nothing. He can just give you some small little bit and that can sustain us for the rest of our life. Please go ask him. And Sudama says, no, I can't do that. He's my best friend. I can't do that to a friend. A friendship was not based on these kind of things. It's very embarrassing for me. But then, unable to stand his wife's nagging, consistent nagging, he decides, okay, I'll go. And so she gives him something she makes, because he has told her stories and how Krishna used to love puffed rice. So she makes some puffed rice and says, okay, give this to him in a small little bag. And he says, okay. And he goes very excited to meet his old friend. And then she has given him a laundry list. Please make sure you ask him all these things. Please, we have to get all these things sorted out. There's no point just having such a big friend. It doesn't make sense here helping us in our worldly things. He says, okay. So he goes to meet Krishna. And Krishna hears that he has come. And Krishna runs out to meet him. And they hug each other. And they're like delighted to meet after so many years. And Krishna tells Rukmini, look at who is this? This is my old friend. Oh my God, you look the same. This, that went on and on and on and on. And then Krishna notices under his dhoti, he has a little bag of puffed rice. He says, wait, what is that? And Sudama is now embarrassed because he's in this palatial, in this palace, and he is seeing gold and silver all around him. And how can he take out this little piece of puffed rice, this little bag? Krishna says, hey, come on, give that. Oh my God, I can't believe this is puffed rice, and they eat. I'm just being dramatic. It's, in my case, of course, it's imagination, but I love this story. That's why I'm so happy sharing this with you all. So Krishna eats that puffed rice as if it was just still his favorite. And Sudama, he spends a lot of time, and then it's time for Sudama to return. And Sudama says, I have to go back. Krishna says, please keep coming. Sudama says, yes. And Sudama starts returning home. And halfway to his home, he suddenly realizes, oh my God, I forgot to ask Krishna and tell him. And he also never asked me. If only he had asked me, like given me a hint, how are you? What are you doing in life? Can I be of help? Now that I'm a king, I can help you. He didn't ask, and I didn't ask. I didn't tell him. I completely forgot. Sudama truly, this is important for us because it's a key. Sudama truly forgot his problems in the presence of Krishna. He was so enamored by his friend, so taken up by his personality, so lost in the good old days that they just lost themselves in the joy, forgot. Krishna forgot he was the prince. Sudama forgot he was living a very beggarly kind of life. Both of them forgot. They were in this divine plane of just love, togetherness. Sudama comes back home and says, oh my gosh, I forgot. Now how do I face my wife? She's going to ask me, did you ask? And I've got to tell no. And she'll send me again. This is so embarrassing. And not knowing what to do, he returns home and he cannot recognize where his home is. Guess what happened? Everything was transformed. So the story goes. He comes, he finds that instead of his home lies his palace. His wife comes out to greet him, dressed in jewelry, and he's struck. He says, "Am I come to the wrong place? Am I dreaming? What is this?" And she says, "The moment you left, you would have perhaps reached Dwaraka, and people came and they just transformed this place overnight and gave us everything that I ever wanted. I'm so glad you told Krishna about what. Look, I told you, right? You have to go to Krishna." He says, "I never asked him." So when you invoke the divine, you have to go above your problems and be with him in his dimension, in his world of oneness, expansion, love, fearlessness. That's why I say in his world of Satya, Dharma, Shanti, Prema, Ahimsa. In that dimension, there is no poverty, there is no illness, there is no sickness, there is no death, there is no fear, there is no greed, there is nothing. Just oneness and love and happiness and peace that is eternal. Enjoy that and watch the miracle unfold in these other lower dimensions of your life. Everything will fall back into alignment if it appears to be out of alignment. Because all that happens is perfectly orchestrated. It appears to be misaligned because of our lack of divine perception. The story of Sudama is relevant even today. In my life, every day, and I'm sure in your lives, that when you know that you have somebody who knows far better than you can ever imagine what you need, then what is the need to ask? So that brings me to my favorite story of all, the secret of prayer. Once Swami came to a hostel, many of you would have probably heard this, so bear with me if it's a repetition. But like I always say, these are the lessons I repeat to myself every day. I learn from it and I apply them constantly. And that is the only way I continue to enrich myself. Those are the only stories I can share because I know they're authentic. They happened in my life. It's not somebody else's story, something that I picked up from the internet. Swami came to a hostel one day and spoke about pranayama. In his discourse, he mentioned how Soham is a very powerful pranayama and one has to practice Soham. And I was very happy because I was looking for every little tidbit on yoga that Swami would give in his discourses. Something that at least remotely appeared yogic in his public discourses because I was craving for that. He had put me on the path. Personally, one-on-one and in smaller groups, he would share a lot. But in these public discourses as well, I'm listening. And so when he spoke about Soham Pranayama, I was very thrilled. I said, I must practice this, make this my sadhana. Maybe Swami is indicating I should do this. And very eagerly, I decided to get into the sadhana. Sadhana means into the spiritual practice. So those days I was practicing 4 times a day, pranayama, 45 minutes each session, morning, afternoon, evening, night. For quite a few months I did that. Anyway, that's besides the point. That's not the point of the story. So I incorporated Soham Pranayama into that. Now, when I began the next morning, I thought, today is Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, I do the Soham Pranayama, and Thursday is my chance to go, our class. This is days after I spent time in Swami's room, and also I was back to that regular go along with the boys kind of thing. So I realized if I go with the boys and our class stands first in the line today, and on Thursday, and if we go for darshan, I can go sit right in the front, and maybe Swami will show me some sign of approval of this sadhana. Because for every part of my sadhana, every practice of mine, I was seeking some kind of approval from Swami. And he was kind enough to give that. But the time had come for me. I think the time had come that he thought this guy should graduate from this asking for approvals and seeking something. He should have faith in his practice and just do it. or the joy of doing it, not expecting anything in return. We don't practice spirituality to please God. We don't practice meditation and Nama Sankirtana, and we don't get into seva projects or do all of this to please Him. He doesn't need this. We do it for ourselves, and it's okay to accept that. It's the truth. We're doing it to release ourselves from this bondage of this tiny I and mind. Okay, so I was not there yet. And so I said, I'm going to practice 3 days of the Soham Pranayama. Then when I sit in Swami's presence, he's going to show me some sign. And I practiced very enthusiastically 3 days of Soham Pranayama. Breathe in so, breathe out hum, breathe in so, breathe out hum. Continuously, as much as I could, even more than these 4 sessions, in between sessions, whenever I could, I just completely entrenched myself into this, drenched myself into this practice of Soham. Why? Because I was expecting that on the 4th day, when I go for darshan, sit in the front, Swami is going to show me some sign. And as that 4th day approached, my excitement grew, and so did my prayers, quote unquote prayers. So did my prayer. And what my prayer was, show me a sign that this is my path. Show it in such a way that it just blows my mind. So if you're going to come and stand in front of me and just stand there for 1 minute, that is not a sign. Look at how audacious I had become. Swami coming and standing in front of you today is like a dream. It can never come true at this point in the physical sense, right? So, but we were that point when I was thinking, or if you come and somehow your rope touches my knee, I'm not going to take that as a sign. Again, what a divine opportunity. But I was thinking, no, these things I get every day. If you look at me and all, I want a divine sign. I want an out of the world sign. I don't know what that is. I can't put my mind to it, but something that doesn't happen every day. Show me that sign. And then I know you have accepted my sadhana. Now, this is a very immature approach. I'm not suggesting you all do any of this because, like I said, sadhana is done for our own joy. We do this because I love to meditate, because I love to sit and spend that time with God. That is what is motivating us to do it. You don't do that to look for something else. That is not a means to an end. That spiritual practice is an end by itself. And then it starts giving us the fruits. So when Wednesday passed, Thursday came, and I was so excited. I got ready. I was first in the line. I went and sat right outside Swami's interview room door, right in front. And I was thinking, Swami, you have to show me. Swami, come on, I've done my best now. And please, 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 Swami, please, please, please. Fervent prayer. Again, quote unquote, fervent prayer, fervent devotion. I'm sitting straight praying. Next to me is the birthday boy, and next to him is the pillar, and there is Swami's door. I can't get closer than that. When he opens the door, he's going to see me. He comes out for darshan. He comes to the birthday boy, picks up chocolates and throws it at everyone. Not even a single chocolate falls in my hand. And I'm thinking, it's okay. This is not the sign I wanted anyway. And that was okay. It didn't bother me much. But I was expecting that sign. And then Swami, to my shock, didn't even look at me. He just turned and walked away, started his darshan rounds. And that was the first moment, the very first time it even struck me. Wait a minute. He can completely ignore you. He can completely not even see you. And this whole big sign thing that you're asking for may not even happen. And I was like, wait a minute, what if that happens? Then everything that I did last 3 days is gone? Isn't this whole thing my path? And then I was like, Swami, please don't disappoint me. You put me on this path, show me this is what I want to do. Is this the right meditation? Is this the right sadhana? I prayed and prayed and prayed and prayed throughout the darshan, and that day darshan seemed to be so slow. Swami went and picked up a big group of interviews. I saw people gathering outside his room. I was like, oh my God, this is going to be a big interview, a long interview. So once Swami goes inside, then I have to go to the bhajan hall to sing bhajans. I won't get an eye contact with Swami, then gone. That Thursday evening, which I worked so fervently for, is going to go off. And it could go off just like that in smoke. And I was like that Sudama's wife, nagging Swami in my head, Swami, Swami, please, Swami, don't do this to me. So as Swami was finishing darshan, I brought down my demands. If you will, I said, okay, forget all those big out of the world signs. Just look at me, please. Just don't ignore me. Don't do that to me, because that will break my heart completely. I never expected that to happen. So please don't ignore me and go away. At least look at me, I'll be happy. I don't want anything else. Just look at me and I'll be happy. Please, Swami, don't do this to me. Because I was afraid now that that might happen. The worst can happen. And so Swami finishes and comes and stands right in front of me. And he talking to a boy a couple of rows behind. Hey, where did you come from? Acha, go where your parents are come, go call them. He's introducing that boy to the VIP, something he's talking to that boy about. And I am sitting right below Swami, less than 6 inches away. His robe is literally in front of me. I'm looking up and Swami's face is right there. You can look into his nostrils, as it were, literally so close. I'm looking and my mind is screaming to Swami, Swami, please, please don't do this to me. Don't ignore this. Ignore me. Just look down once. Just look once. Look at me. One glance is all I crave for. You see how the divinity can really bring down and crush that ego in a matter of moments. And that crushing is part of that learning. Without that crushing, without that intense pangs of pain, if you will, there's no learning there. For me, that's how I learned, especially this particular one. And as he was talking, and it seemed like eternity at that moment, because I was just praying. Why is he not looking down? Why isn't my prayers reaching him? I mean, there were times before I used to think and he would answer. I know you know it's Swami. Why don't you look down? Why are you not looking down at me? What have I done for 3 days? I've done this. Please show me this is my path. Please help me, Swami. Please, please, please. There was absolutely no sign that I even existed for Swami. And to my utter shock, disappointment, he turned, he walked, he called the people into the interview room. And even as they were going in, I was looking at Swami. He's standing now, his back face to me. He's facing those people, asking them to go inside the door. I'm saying, Swami, please turn and look at me. Swami, please don't do this. Swami, please, please, please. My mind is screaming with prayer. He walked as if I didn't exist. He walked. And he shut the door. Sometimes before he shuts the door, and only boys can know this in the veranda, just before the door is shutting, just before he shuts the door, he will peep like this. He will do like that, put his tongue out or make some face and then shut the door. Just as a matter of joke, sometimes, sometimes, not every time. And so there are particular boys who will choose that spot to sit, so they get an angle at the door. That is their darshan for them. That's the beauty of Swami. I mean, it was that life in Puttaparthi had such beautiful charms that I don't know, it's inexplicable. One has to be a student to experience that. Anyway, so I thought at least that closing of the door, Swami would look. I said, Swami, please, 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 please. To my complete shock and disbelief, he shut the door. He had not glanced at me even once. And I was praying to him fervently in his physical presence, with him being a few inches away from me, standing there, waiting for me to pray as it were. I'm praying and he's not even looking down. Not even a glance. Kadaikan par, they will say, one corner of the eye. Even that didn't happen. It just didn't happen. The birthday boy got up, went away. I moved into the corner where the pillar was, because I wanted to sob and cry because I was so shocked. At that, because the darshan, the door shuts, everybody gets up, right? Darshan time, everybody got up, everybody started dispersing. I moved to this corner, the birthday boy got up, I got space. I just moved to just take a few deep breaths and center myself. And so this is how I was sitting at the pillar. A few seconds must have passed, but in those few seconds, my mind attained complete silence. Now what prayer? Now what? It's over. Like he's standing in front of you and all that didn't work, right? So that I don't know if it was disappointment, I don't know what it was, but at that moment, there was complete silence. Like this. Few seconds only had passed. I'm just slowing down that moment to explain to you because there's an important lesson to be learned. And I shared this very experience in Swami's presence many years later in Kodaikanal. So there is an epilogue to the story, and I hope I don't forget to finish with that. So then I'm waiting, this few seconds pass, and suddenly I hear the familiar click. That click is like that click when the door opens, interview room door opens. I heard the click, I looked up. The door opened and Swami came out towards me. He's not looked at me yet. He just came out. And this now is happening so fast, I don't have time to think, and forget thinking. There's no time to even kind of pray again and all of that. Nothing is happening. I'm just struck like, oh, wait, what is happening here? Swami comes out, not looking at me, he's looking at the lady's side, and he's saying, somebody, hey, lazy, 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 come, come, come. And that one lady gets up and starts walking towards the interview room door. And Swami tells us something, kya, lazy, and all that. God knows what her prayer was, what she did. We don't know that, right? That's what I mean by divine orchestration of these events, where everything is a lesson for somebody, prayer answered for somebody, healing for somebody. Somebody has to continue this karmic suffering. Everything is orchestrated, perfect. So that day, I'm standing, there's one step high, Swami is standing there, I'm just looking at him, so close again, but this time none of that fervent prayer, nothing. It's just too fast for me. And there's no way, I had no energy to crank up my emotions and feeling and prayers and all of that. I'd given up in my mind, given up. So I'm looking at him. He's telling the lady to go. And that lady went into the interview room door. As soon as he went in, Swami decided to follow her. And just before he decided to follow her, he turned around. Because I'm sitting below where he's standing. He turned around. And all this happened in a matter of few seconds. He turned around and he took his thumb. And that is when I noticed his thumb, his forefinger, all of this are full of vibhuti. He had probably materialized vibhuti inside the room. So he turned around with his thumb still full of vibhuti. He rubbed it in between my eyebrows like this. No smile, nothing. No words spoken, nothing. Just as a matter of fact, went into the room, shut the door. I got that out of the world sign which I wanted. That is such a powerful lesson. And I'll come to that, explain a little more. I'm just digesting that moment. That is such a powerful lesson. And it set me thinking for so many days and weeks. Because the lesson was, when Swami was standing in front of you, rather than having his darshan, rather than enjoying his presence, I was so full of, I want this, I want this, I want this. Why are you not giving me my sign? Why are you not doing this? I am doing the sadhana. Show me the sign. Show me I and me and mine. I was so full of me and my problems and what I wanted that there was no room for God. And therefore, what I thought was prayer never even reached him, did not reach him. And so he did for him, I didn't even exist. Because I was so full of myself, there was no door opening to allowing him into my consciousness. Even though he was physically standing right in front of me. But when he went away and he shut the door, physically out of my sight, out of my reach, out of any possibility of anything again happening by way of a physical contact, when there was no possibility of that, when my mind was completely silent, he appeared. And in a matter of seconds, manifested my innermost desire. What was my desire? That I wanted a sign that is out of the world. That never happened to me again in the next 15 years of my stay with Swami. Never. I wanted a sign that can never ever happen or repeat itself. I got that sign. And that particular act of Swami was further than my wildest imagination. I could have never dared think Swami is going to come and bless my third eye, chakra, and all of that. Everything else, what happened with my personal sadhana, all of that is separate, right? That's a different line of thinking. But at that moment, there was an important lesson to learn there. And I was thinking, how come when I was standing in and he was so close to me, he didn't hear? And when I apparently stopped praying, then it manifested. How does that manifestation occur? And so many years later, when I was in Kodaikanal, I shared this lesson, this powerful experience in Swami's presence, because Swami would pick me up to speak every day, and that was 35, 40 days or 45 days. And like this, every time Sai Center calls, I said, I don't have any more stories. I have the same old stories I'm going to share. But every time I share it, I learn something new. And so I shared this in Swami's presence. Swami was sitting on a chair this side, and I was standing next to him. I shared this story. Swami was enjoying the stories thoroughly. And I ended the quote, because this was a lesson that came, that it is only in the depths of silence that the voice of God can be heard. So I understood that as when my mind became quiet, then he manifested and gave. So the voice of God was, communication happened in silence, not when I thought I'm praying and asking. And I said, it is only in the depths of silence, quoting Swami, I said, it is only in the depths of silence that the voice of God can be heard. And I finished with that, touched Swami's feet, bent down, kissed his feet. And as I got up, Swami patted me on my back. He said, good boy. And he repeated that quote, Baga Cheppao, it is only in the depths of silence, voice of God can be heard. But, you know how Swami says, but? And I was, oh, there's a but too. But it is also in the same silence, God, pointing to himself, God can also hear your voice. Pointing to himself, he said, God can also hear your voice. So it is in silence that the voice of God can be heard. That means God speaks to us in silence. That's what I meant by earlier when I said intuition, and all of that just comes in silence. There's no language. He speaks to us. There's this, we are blessed sometimes with a knowing, that is the conviction that comes where the heart just opens and you know, right? You know. Nothing can shake you from that belief. There's no logical explanation. How do you know? I don't know. It just, I know. That's how it is. That is how you hear God's voice. But Swami said it is in the same silence. God can also hear your voice. To me, that was the cherry on the cake. Because it was in that silence that he heard my voice. When I stopped what I thought was praying, he actually heard my prayer in silence. So, my dear friends, if we call upon the divine, saying you're omniscient, omnipotent, and omnipresent, and you know everything, then let us not place a laundry list at his feet. And if there is something so important, this is what I do. If there is something so important that bothers my mind, if it's a healing, or if there's a sickness, or if there's a trouble that I'm in, which seems to be hounding my mind, which has taken over me completely, I don't know how to get rid of it. Take that, offer it at his feet, invoke him in your presence and offer it at his feet and say, you take care of it. Swami, let me think of you now. And then forget that, because now you're offered to him. Forget it and enjoy the presence of God in your consciousness, in your midst, in your altar, in your home. Watch the magic happen. It always, always never fails. Your deepest desires will get manifested in an even greater manner than that you would have imagined. Because the divine knows better than you what to give you, when to give you, how to give it to you. how to make that manifest in your life. All we need is to trust the process, trust the presence, trust the wisdom, and say, this is coming to me as a powerful desire, Lord. Take it. You take it and make it manifest. And if it keeps coming back to me again and again, I will do my effort to making that manifest, because I can't sit back with inaction, because you have prompted this, you have given this thought. But rather than owning this thought in my mind, rather than owning this desire in my mind, whether it is selfish desire or selfless desire, it doesn't matter. The desire, you take it, you manifest it. I will continue to do this as a work you have given me to do. And therefore, if it has to manifest in the life, if, in other words, if my action has to find a fruit at the end of the road, it has to come into fruition of some kind, you make that happen. Because my action, my desire, all of that has come from you. It belongs to you. You take it. And when we learn to offer our most difficult mind to him, our most difficult moments to him, and then what? And then you derive peace from that sense of surrender, that you have now given your situation, your whatever that situation may be, you have given it to someone, an energy principle, the Sai principle. And you trust that principle knows much more than you can ever imagine, because this principle comes from the cosmos. Allow that principle to work and allow that principle to manifest it in your life. But the more we say, I want it, why are you not giving it to me? How much more can I pray? Where all I can go and sing? What all I can do and cry? You, Swami, Swami. We love our drama. The mind loves this kind of victim mindset. The ahankara loves this. It's like that itching thing, right? If it itches, you scratch. You scratch, you're like, oh, this is so good, so good. And you scratch and it becomes a wound. This is exactly what is happening. The more we build that victim mindset, the more distant we are creating between us and Swami. And that is not what he came for. He did not come to become another god up in an altar. He came so we can keep him in an altar and think this is the height I have to go to reach him. This is the Sai I have to be in my aloneness. This is the Sai who has to speak through me, who has to talk through me, who has to walk through me. This is the Sai who has to live through me. If Sai has to come back, let his life be through me. Somebody asked very jokingly, what about Prema Sai, Swami? And Swami jokingly said, in all your hearts you develop Prema, in every heart of you, in everybody's heart a Prema Sai will be one. What is there? He laughed at. But in that laughter lies the Vedantic truth. That is true. Sai can come back into your family through you. Whether you're a 5-year-old or a 50-year-old, it doesn't matter. Open your heart. Allow the divine. This energy is real energy. So if you can't believe in Rama, you can't believe in Krishna because they were too old. Now you too far out in the path. Now you can't believe Swami because he's another human being. So what else are you believing? So it's a nature for the mind to not to believe. Why? Because the mind, the ego wants you to be trapped in this victim mindset. Oh, poor me. I'm just an ordinary guy. I'm just this chaotic nature. I'm just a freak in nature. I'm just born. I'm just a chance. As science just taught me, that makes logical sense. That is where the mind finds peace. Is it real peace? No, it's not even truth. It's not peace. It's nothing. So when we work from those kind of platforms, all our decisions and everything that we do in our lives become castles of sand. One little storm, the entire castle breaks. We run around helter-skelter, scared, fearful. To say I've been a devotee of 30 years of Swami and yet to be afraid of the same thing that everybody else is afraid of, your child is going to say, what is the difference then of you being a Sai Baba devotee and somebody not being a Sai devotee? What is the difference? What is the difference? How are we going to show that there is a difference? Not to impress somebody else, but to ask ourselves. In these 40 years, in these 30 years, what have I manifested? What Sai have I manifested in my life? in my family, in my commitment to work, in my excellence in whatever I do? Where has he manifested himself in my life? And why has he not manifested in my life? Because when I invoke him, I am full of myself. Either consciously or subconsciously, I'm thinking about me rather than him. That is why Swami said, when you look at a picture of Sai, then you take your mind to the picture. Don't bring the picture down into the, don't bring, I'm sorry. Let me recode that. It says, when you look at a picture of God, take the picture to God. Don't bring God into the picture. Take the picture to God. In other words, when I look at him in that picture, I am lost in that beautiful Padmasana. He's sitting in the lotus with the Rudraksha mana. To me, as a yoga practitioner, this is my guru. And so I am lost in that yogic pose, in that Shiva, in that concept of yoga, and I'm going with him there. But if I bring him into the picture and say, well, when is my Gurukulam, this is going to happen, when is that going to happen, Swami, give me this, give me that, then I'm dragging him into that picture, putting him in that four corners of the frame, limiting my idea of God to what he can give me, rather than forgetting me and going into the picture, becoming one with him. My dear brothers and sisters, I know I've been speaking continuously now for more than 1.5 hours. I hope I made some sense. I know I did, because I have learned a lot today. When I relive these moments, Swami teaches me a lot. I'm grateful. That's why if I have the time, if somebody calls me to speak, I said, I also look forward to it, because I know there is some lesson for me too. Just because I'm talking doesn't mean I'm preaching to you at all. No, I'm just like you, and I want to be like that. Not just this lifetime, every lifetime. Because in learning, we begin to share what we learn. And in that sharing, we are enriching ourselves, enriching everyone. And so, for me, I find the greatest fulfillment. I hope that you, no matter what your background or age is, because I don't see you, I'm presuming there are people of different age groups sitting and listening to this. I hope you all found something of this to take home. It may have made sense with the present situation, may not have made sense, I don't know. But this is what came to me in my heart. And I thought it was vital that I share these thoughts with you all. I want to thank you all for your patience, for allowing me again to share yet another satsang. The last time Maya and I were there, we were on a stage. I remember that Flushing. It was Flushing, right? And then before that, we were once on a stage singing a musical program, long. These are all many years ago, I think now. So much has happened. So much will happen. That's what life is all about. But thank you for inviting me into your homes. Very, very, very grateful. Thank you for allowing me to share these perspectives. So with these words, I pray to Swami to continue guiding us, and no evil. Lead us into that silence. Teach us, give us a strength to surrender. Place that mind, however grotesque, dark, and full of disbelief and doubt and painful it is, filled with pain and suffering. Give us the strength to make that offering, Sai, at your feet. And let us relieve ourselves knowing that you are the one who is orchestrating this, and therefore you know best what to do. And in that knowledge, in that wisdom, in that surrender, may we all find eternal peace. And may we share that peace and allow that peace to spread out into this world. That peace that comes from the Sai to the world. Samasta Loka Sukhino Bhavantu. Thank you. Sai Ram.
Sai Ram, everyone. Pranams at Bhagwan's lotus feet, who is our guide, protector, and everything. Sai Ram, Brother Sunder.
Sai Ram, Sai Ram.
Thank you for the wonderful speech and sharing your experiences with Bhagwan. And I know you mentioned about you had come to Flushing. You know, every time you talk and you share the same stories, the faith, our faith in Swami, you know, increases because you have experienced that and we have experienced the same. And it allows us to, like you said, to open our hearts and receive the divine love. And you, as you spoke about Swami giving and giving and giving, I think it's now time for us to give back what Swami has given us. And I think it was such a wonderful thing to hear from you about the simple experience of silence, because our mind is constantly thinking about something else and something else and something else. And it's a perfect example that even when you're thinking of God and you're asking him something, that silence is what gives us that eternal peace. So thank you
Thank you.
so much for enlightening us once again. We are extremely grateful to you to give your time and share wonderful memories of Swami. And I would like to thank you again. Thank you, Saira.
Sairam, Sairam.
Sairam, so Brother Sunder, he is our devotional coordinator, Brother Dhyanesh Prabhu, who spoke just now. So again, I'll just tell you, I want to share a bit here about Brother Sunder with my conversation while we were trying to arrange this program. He was like, when I requested him, like in this kind of difficult situations that we are all in currently, with New York having being the epicenter of the entire US, technically in the world as well. So when we were talking about like share some of the practical ways where we can enlighten ourselves and move ahead, even though difficulties, obstacles will always we face them. But I think these couple of practical tips, what is expected when you pray has has been redefined in a simpler way. Now, what I personally feel is like we don't have to ask Bhagwan anything. Like just bring him into us, our consciousness, by just thinking about him. Now with this COVID, fortunately or unfortunately, the reality of life is Swami is always in our lives through WhatsApp messages, this meeting, some satsang happening, Brother Anil Kumar or with other alumni brothers. All over the globe, we have so many meetings going on. Even said these meetings are happening during work hours. There are times when we are also being chased uh, differently during work hours by having these opportunities to think about Swami for even for a minor seconds or few seconds, depending upon the situation. I think Swami has taken the central figure for all of us. And you are one of his instruments, brother. I am sure with your thoughts and with your experiences, it's an eye opener for many of us. And this was needed. In my opinion, New York City folks. And then I want to acknowledge the presence of other Sai centers who have joined us. And then some are remotely. We didn't want to socialize this to the whole world, Brother Sundar, since once they know that you are speaking, it will explode. And we have limitation in terms of number of participants. So we wanted to keep it within New York area. So all the New York City Sai Center members, some of them are also on this call joining us. So I think this is a very profound lessons that will be very much embraced by all of the devotees here, and we look forward for more of these sessions, whether in your future. Now with this technology, I'm sure it's easier to get into somebody's house than what it used to be earlier. We had to look at logistics, come up with a plan, then venue, then book their school. There are many difficulties that Swami always posed us. Now with this also, we are in a stage where we can connect with his grace. I think for every problem, there is a solution, which you already mentioned as one of the key statement. This is a solution. Now technology was technology at some point by Bhagavan. Now it has become more of a spiritual awareness and connectivity that Swami has allowed us to go through. And all, thank you for that. And yesterday when I was requesting him for a quick sound test and then connection test, he was so polite. I'm like so humble. He said, I am on a regional call. Can we meet at certain minutes? So I was waiting for his message. Then he again said, or else we'll meet later in the evening. So that kind of in humility, and that's what I think makes a difference. And we always love to have you anytime, Brother Sundar. So, so please be awaiting for our invitation once again in your future. So please do oblige our request whenever we get an opportunity.
Sairam.
Thanks once again.
Sairam. Thank you so much. My pleasure. My pleasure.
You can sing a bhajan before you go. That will be great.
I don't have a harmonium or anything by my side.
Okay.
So I hope you let me go this time. And my throat is really bad.
Okay. Okay.
Sairam. Thank you so much. Thank you, Sairam.
Sure, sir. Sairam, Brother Sunder. So
Sairam.
we'll quickly with this quickly. I want to just share a few updates. We have successfully concluded with Swami's grace our Aradhana Mahotsavam celebration with Brother Sunder's talk today, and I hope we will continue our sadhana. This is only a kind of an excuse for us to enhance or intensify our sadhanas, but as Brother Sunder mentioned, it is a daily sadhana, and then we need to explore. This is an infinite existence that we are talking about. So with that, with Swami's blessings and grace, we were able to have successful sadhana. Thanks to all the viewers who were able to join us, and we will conclude with Swami's Arati.
Jai Jagadish Hare Swami Sathya Sai Hare Bhakta Jana Samrakshak Bhakta Jana Samrakshak Pati Maheshwara Om Jai Jagadish Hare Shivadana Shekara Sarva Pranapati Swami Sarva Pranapati Ashrita Kalpalatika Ashrita Kalpalatika Apad Bandhava Om Jai Jagadish Hare Mata Pita Guru Daivamu Mariyantayunire Swami Mariyantayunire Nada Brahma Jagannatha Nada Brahma Jagannatha Nagendra Sayana Om Jai Jagadish Hare Omkara Rupa Ojasvi Sai Mahadeva Sathya Sai Mahadeva Mandala Harati Anduko Mandala Harati Anduko Mandala Giridhari Om Jai Jagadish Hare Narayana Narayana Om Satya Narayana 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 Om Satya Narayana Narayana Satya Narayana Narayana Om Jai Satgurudeva Narayana Narayana Satya Narayana 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 Satya Narayana Narayana Satya Narayana Narayana Om Jai Satgurudeva Narayana Narayana Satya Narayana 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 Satya Narayana Narayana Satya Narayana Narayana Om Jai Sadgurudeva Om Shanti 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 Samasta Lokaः Sukhino Bhavantu Samasta Lokaः Sukhino Bhavantu Samasta Lokaः Sukhino Bhavantu Om शान्तिः। जय बोलो भगवान श्री सत्य साई बाबा जी की जय।
परमं पवित्रं बाबा विभूतिं परमं विचित्रं लीला विभूतिं परमार्थइष्टार्थमोक्षप्रदानं बाबा विभूतिं इदमाश्रयामि। परमं पवित्रं बाबा विभूतिं परमं विचित्रं लीला विभूतिं परमार्थइष्टार्थमोक्षप्रदानं बाबा विभूतिं इदमाश्रयामि। परमं पवित्रं बाबा विभूतिं परमं विचित्रं लीला विभूतिं परमार्थइष्टार्थमोक्षप्रदानं बाबा विभूतिं इदमाश्रयामि।
ॐ साईश्वराय विद्महे सत्यदेवाय धीमहि तन्नः सर्वप्रचोदयात्। ॐ साईश्वराय विद्महे सत्यदेवाय धीमहि तन्नः सर्वप्रचोदयात्। ॐ साईश्वराय विद्महे सत्यदेवाय धीमहि तन्नः सर्वप्रचोदयात्। ॐ